Hello everyone, I'm Paul, and welcome to your Legion. Remember years ago, those beige cases, those white cases, the gray cases, they were all ugly, and that's what started everybody modding stuff. Well, I'm going to say if you remember those days, you probably had a case from this manufacturer, which is InWin. They were very popular cases back then. Of course, they were all looked like server cases or whatever, but InWin was one of the main manufacturers of cases back then. And today we're actually going to look at a couple of the nicer InWin cases because, of course, things do change. And we're looking at the 707, which is the big brother, and we're looking at the 703, which is the baby brother. What I'll do first is I'll show everybody the 707, which is the big brother, because I do not have a build in here, and there's some special qualities about this case that I want to show you without the build. Then we'll take a look at the 703, which I actually have a build in, so you can see what it looks like when it's full of components. First thing I could say is this is one big honkin' full tower case. And when you turn it to the side, you'll see that the front bezel of it has a nice red panel on it. And the very front of it, so you can get to your optical drives, has a pop-open panel. Up on the top of it, we have some USB ports and, of course, our stuff for our speakers. But when we look at the very top, you'll notice that we've got room to put a 420 millimeter rad on the top. So it would actually be centered inside the case with the fans in a pull configuration blowing out. You can't put the fans up on the top. Let's take off the front panel here. Now, it has a nice window, and the window is engraved with the InWin logo on it. But one thing you're going to notice when you get inside the case, and I'm going to come actually to the side, you might not be able to see me, there's a lot of room. You have a lot of room for cable management, you have a lot of room for all your components, and on the bottom here, when you remove this bottom hard drive cage, you could actually put a 240 millimeter rad on the bottom also. So these cages do come out, and they do go back in. If you choose to put a fan here on the side, you're going to be able to put a fan on the side. It does come with one fan in the back, and then if we go to the front and I pull the front bezel off, which is a pain in the ass because it's a big case. Okay, if we pull the front bezel off, and I'll turn it to the front for you. Of course, I have it flipped up right now because I didn't take everything off. You'll notice that we do have 240 millimeter fans up here in the front. They do come standard with it. Front bezel is easily removed. Of course, if I didn't have the cables all together, I'd be able to take it off. The other thing about this is the switch for the computer is right here to turn it on and off. So it is on the actual opposite side of where the window is. So depending on where you have it, you might have this in the back. So if you're laying it out, say, turned across, you're going to have to reach behind it in order to turn the power on. All right, let's look in the back and look at the cable management for this. As you can see, when we come around, you have a lot of room for cable management here. We do have three nice grommets. We do have room for our power supply, the main 24-pin power connector, and the other big cables to come through the bottom and be routed up through the top. We also have a grommet here. You'll notice that there's a very, very large cutout on the back of the motherboard plate. You'll have no problem putting a heat sink, any type of heat sink, back here because they left you another room. So if you're using an AMD or if you're using an Intel build, you're going to be able to get your heatsink on the back. So you could actually mount your motherboard, go ahead and slap your heatsink on without having to worry about it cutting across, etc. There's also another slit here for some wires to come through. And let's take a look at the back. When we take a look at the back, you'll notice that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 expansion plates. We do have a 140 millimeter fan in the back. We do have some nice ventilation here. One good thing about this case that you will notice is on the side, if you do want to cool the back of your motherboard, you can put a 140 millimeter fan back here. And yes, there is enough room for a fairly wide fan. I would suggest putting a thin fan back there, but you can put a fairly wide fan in the back. For your optical drives or your larger drives, you do have a toolless system up here. InWin is famous for putting different colors inside of their cases, so these happen to be green. All in all, this is a great case. It's supersized. You could probably fit Tywin Lannister inside of it, believe me. And it's only $100. So you could water cool with it, you could air cool with it, you could do anything that you choose to do with this case. It's very versatile. As I said, these do come out, so you could pull everything out, readjust, do whatever you want. You won't have a problem with that. One last thing that I want to show you, yes, it does have grommets on the back, so if you do want to mount your wires through the back, your tubing through the back, you can do that. So that's the 707, and we'll take another look at the front panel here. And as you can see, it does have a fairly wide window, so you're going to be able to see your components inside, and that does come off. And when you light it up, it actually is engraved with InWin in the center. So that's a 707. And now for the baby brother, the 703 case. The 703 case is a mid-tower. It's actually a correctly sized mid-tower when you compare it to the 707 there. But let's turn it to the side so you could actually see the front bezel. It is nice and red here. You do have a very nice window, a large window, so you can see your components. So if you want to light this puppy up, you're going to see everything through it. When we take off the front panel, you can see the components that I have installed in it. And this will show you that there is a lot of room in this case, even though it's a mid-tower. I do have a Corsair H80i GT in here, or GTX. I have a 780 NVIDIA video card. Of course, we have a nice power supply on the bottom, the Corsair 860. As you can see now, this is not removable, this hard drive cage. So you have room for 4 standard hard drives or 4 SSDs, and then up on the top you can mount an SSD. This is your optical drive bay. It is toolless, so you don't have to worry about using anything for your tools. When you look inside the case, you'll notice that I have room to put my hand up on the top. I also have room to work and grab everything that I need. The only thing that I don't like about this case is there's nowhere to really hide the wires, so I technically had to take the wires and bundle them up in order to get them to look fairly clean. That wire actually came out, but as you can see, there is good wire management for a smaller size case, so you won't have any problems getting any wires in. On the back of it, you notice that we do have 2 grommet holes for cooling. Now, you could technically take out the hard drive cage if you wanted to. You'd have to unbolt it, and fit a rad underneath. But there is no room to put a rad up on the top of this case. Let's go ahead and look at the back of the case. All right, unlike the other one, when we were talking about the motherboard cutout, it is a fairly large motherboard cutout, but if you'll notice, I'm barely clearing it here with my heatsink mount. So if you were to actually put the motherboard on first and want to put the heatsink mount on, you would literally have to unscrew it so you could get the pins through. But as you can see, case on wire management, it's very nice. It has some ample room in the back. They do provide you with the tie off so you could use them. So at least you're going to have a nice looking, clean wire management setup when you do it. Again, with this case, The power button is on the opposite side, so if you're putting it so you could showcase your window and it's going sideways, this is going to be in the back. It is red like the other one, but now let's look at the front bezel. And you'll notice that all there is room for one optical drive. This does not have the pop off like the other one, so you can click it and it opens. This stays open at all times. Since it is a mid-tower case, we'll look at the back here, and you'll notice that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 expansion slots, just like the full-size one, which is good. Some of the mini cases where you can only put a micro board in, micro ATX or an ITX board, don't have that much for expansion. What I've done with this is I've actually put some nice LED lighting. There is room to put LED lighting across. I didn't put it up top, even though I could have put it up top because I didn't want to go behind the actual rad of the cooler. So I do have some nice LED lighting in here. That was very easy to do, and it was very easy to hide. So let's put it back together. I'll go ahead and light it up, and we'll take a look at it lit. One thing I forgot to mention about the case is that it does come with a 140 in the back, and it does have a 140 up front. There is room for two 140s up front, and as the other one, you can fit a 140 by the hard drive cage. This case is big enough for you to put a full-size video card, as you can see, because I have a 780 in there. All in all, this family is a very nice family. It goes from the big brother to the baby brother. The cases are very versatile. They're very easy to work with. And that's one thing I like about cases. When you give me room to work with so I can get my sausage fingers in there, it makes a lot of difference than those cases that you technically have to go in and use a, I don't know, what do you call those things? A pair of pliers or something just to get a needle nose or whatever, so you can just get your stuff plugged in. This one here is $69. Of course, the 707 is $100. So they're not very expensive. They're decent cases. So I would definitely suggest that if you are looking for a build, to make sure that you do check out InWin. They got a lot of nice versatile designs. They have some with actual tempered glass in the front. Of course, you should be familiar with their D-frame, which is a very nice case. Of course, that's more of a niche type case, but InWin does make some very nice cases for the mainstream and the enthusiasts. We'll go ahead and give these gold awards because I just didn't like the fact that I couldn't hide my wires underneath. I mean, I think InWin thought of everything else, but they lacked when they thought about hiding wires. So they could have put, you know, some type of a cage over the power supply so it would be covered, because I know that there's definitely enough room inside the case that they could have done that. So hopefully with other designs they do have some covers for the power supplies. When you're using a bottom power supply, you really want to have a cover so you can cover those wires. Even though this looks very nice and you're not going to notice it well, if you're standing on top of it, and it just kind of bothers me that I could actually see the power supply wires going through it. I want to say thank you everyone for watching. I'm working on these videos, so please stand by. Things are getting better. Hopefully the sound is good on this one. Hopefully the video quality is good. I did kind of hurt my shoulder going through this, so I'm sorry that I might have rushed through. I'm just having a hard time lifting things right now. I did have shoulder surgery a few months ago, and I'm still healing, so I'm sorry if I didn't totally get too involved on everything. Please subscribe to our channel and stay thirsty, my friends. Bye-bye.